Overtourism in Venezuela. Is that a thing? Well, today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
Today we are going to talk about overtourism. This is something that is happening all over the world, and actually we are seeing mass protests and manifestations in places mostly in Western Europe. We have this particular protest in Barcelona, Spain, one of the most visited cities within Europe, the European Union. Also in several other cities in Spain, like Seville, like Madrid, and actually in Paris, that is one of the most visited cities in the world. And actually, some years, Paris has been the most visited place in the whole world. Also, we're seeing a similar movement in a couple cities in Latin America, like Mexico City. Mexico overall has around 2 million U.S. residents, U.S. citizens living as residents in Mexico. And also, we are seeing something similar happening in Medellin, Colombia. Some manifestations against gentrification, and actually many of movements and a lot of narrative in social media, and also boots on the ground on the city of Medellin, like signs and cartels against migrants and against gentrification overall, and a particular bad sentiment against tourism and actually digital nomads and that kind of thing, a negative sentiment towards internationals, especially Western internationals. Now the question is, this particular trend is coming to Venezuela? And the answer is straight up no. And of course, we have to start that Venezuela is one of the less visited countries, major countries in Latin America compared to Colombia, Mexico, Brazil, that doesn't have as much tourists as you think compared to the size. Brazil, that is a huge country, and also Argentina and places like that. Venezuela doesn't have as much international visitors. According to some statistics, last year, in 2023, Venezuela received 1.4 million international visitors from all over the world, and that's a hefty increase compared to 2022, when Venezuela had a little bit less than 700,000 international visitors. In order to compare to, for instance, Colombia, that they receive, and Colombia has a similar size regarding population, Colombia is a little bit bigger than Venezuela regarding size and population, and they receive 4 million international visitors. That is a lot. Still not with the same numbers compared to European nations, and even compared with Mexico, just for instance, but still a lot, 3-4 times more than the average international visitors per year that Venezuela receives. And we are getting some pushback against international tourism in cities like Medellin. On the rest of Colombia, it's not quite the case in places like Bogota or Cartagena or Barranquilla or Cali. But still, Medellin, of course, is like the second most important city in Colombia, and we are seeing a lot of pushback from the locals against international visitors and digital nomads. So the trend in Venezuela is positive. Year over year, Venezuela has been receiving more and more international tourism. Since 2018, 2019, we have a few years when basically no one wanted to visit Venezuela, and right now we are having the growth rate year over year is increasing. For instance, this year, just half of the year, we received close to 1 million international visitors. So we are poised to close the year on a number closer to 2 million visitors. That is already half of the Colombian visitors. So it's possible that the Venezuelan society, especially the locals, are going to push back against international tourism, like we're seeing on Western Europe and also Colombia and Mexico. Well, the answer is straight up no. Historically, Venezuelans have been very welcoming to the international visitor, especially the Western visitor. Now, I'm not saying if people from, let's say, Southeast Asia or Africa or other places in Latin America visit the country. Actually, we have a bunch of those people as well. And the Venezuelans, actually, one of the best things about Venezuela, that racism, xenophobia are pretty much not existent. And actually, the Venezuelans truly enjoy engaging and doing synergy with people from abroad. And this is a spectacle for itself. And even when Venezuela was a quote-unquote rich country, 50s, 60s, 70s, and some European nations were poorer, actually places like Spain, Italy, Germany, after World War II, those countries were quote-unquote poor countries back then, and after the Plan Marshall and that kind of thing, they grew back again. Very good. But when those countries were poor, and the citizens of those countries were poor citizens, they migrated to Venezuela, that it was quote-unquote rich, and also they did a lot of synergy. And then when, for instance, Germany, when they were rich again, let's say in the 80s, they still wanted to come to Venezuela, and Venezuelans, quote-unquote, were rich back then, for Latin American standards at least, and they were pleased to receive these people back. Now, let's address another thing, that is gentrification. This is the process that we're seeing in some places in Latin America, and even in some cities in the United States as well, where you have people that are more, wealthy, sophisticated financially. They migrate to or spend quite some time on some cities. Let's say, for instance, let's use the example of Mexico City, that they are receiving a bunch of digital nomads and expats and that kind of thing, and that drives significantly the prices of real estate, the restaurants, and that kind of thing, and the local population gets upset. We are going to see that in Venezuela gentrification? Well, no, because Venezuela is already expensive. I explained this. Venezuela is expensive for Latin American standards. It's not crazy expensive like Dubai or Singapore or Switzerland, something like that, or Hong Kong, but it's expensive compared to a poor place in Latin America. That I explained many times, that Venezuela is not poor. Venezuela has been impoverished, and those are two completely different concepts. So Venezuela is already expensive, and actually what people want is, here in the country, is more synergy, more opportunities in order to become, do entrepreneurial endeavors like tourism. For example, I'm seeing a bunch of creativity regarding entrepreneurship on tourism here in the country, in places like Margarita Island and Caracas. Actually, there is kind of a old bar tour in Caracas that is very popular and inexpensive actually. So I never done it. Maybe you should try if you visit Caracas. So the main point, I don't see how it's going to happen a pushback from the Venezuelan society to the international migration. Venezuelans love internationals. They treat very well the international, regardless of their nationality, the race, or religion, and they love to mingle with internationals. Also, still, Venezuela is underdeveloped right now on this, let's say, modern standard for international visitors, and they want more international visitors. Most people, starting people from the government, but also, the average boots on the ground people in Venezuela, they want, I'm not going to say migration, but they want actually international visitors. They want more opportunities in order to do synergy for entrepreneurial things regarding tourism. I'm seeing this a lot. And actually, many people are, many nationalities that are not traditionally here in Venezuela are visiting the country right now. A handful of them already my clients, actually, so shout out to you. And the main trend that I'm seeing right now is more and more international tourism and even migration, actually, both legal and not as legal. I only deal with illegal, by the way. But right now, a good time actually, if you want to feel at home and not have any pushback, neither from the local citizen and also from, let's say, uncomfortable visitors could be from your home country. This is one other thing, is that Venezuela doesn't get overcrowded by, let's say, less fancy, less refined, less sophisticated people from abroad, because entering to Venezuela first, if you're an American, it's difficult. If you are a European, it's very easy, actually. And if you are from Latin America, except from the xenophobic countries against Venezuelans, like Chile, Peru, Panama, except if you are from those countries that are very xenophobic to Venezuelans, that require visa in order to enter Venezuela. From the rest, you're good to go. You can come here to the country as well. People from Brazil, Colombia, places like that. Very good. So, because Venezuela is going to filter the less sophisticated people, because either they need a visa or because the country is too expensive in order to come here and gentrify the country on the first place. Now, I'm doing this video, and when this video comes out, we're already gonna have the results of the election, and maybe you want to wait a little bit just in case I'm gonna give an update on that particular regard. But if any turmoil happens due to the results of the election, afterwards, Venezuela is gonna be a cool place to visit yet again.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.